Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Reviews presented by Quantum Podcasts. As always, I will be your host, Chris, and this is a show about all things movies and TV. Well, we return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That is our featured film of the day. This is a film that I unfortunately did not get to see in theaters when this came out. But it's a movie that I've grown to really like and love. I think it's one of the best origin stories that we've gotten within the MCU since probably Iron Man. I think Iron Man is considered the top tier of origin stories, and not just the MCU, but in all of comic book movie history. So, very excited for today's episode. Couple of reminders at the top of the episode before we get started today. You can watch the show every week at youtube.com/The Cinematic Reviews. You can also listen to the audio version of every episode on your favorite podcast listening service. Go ahead and follow us on social media pages, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Posted a bunch of stuff today, some photos released from the new Spider-Man Brand New Day movie, which is awesome. It's one of my most anticipated films of the year. Now, I know Avengers Doomsday and Dune 3 are coming out later in December, but if you're a fan of the show, you know that Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero. So, of course, the new Spider-Man movie is going to be my most anticipated film of the year, but I'm still excited for those other ones. But we're about 2 months away. That one releases on July 31st. Super excited. Then I also posted about the official title for the Minecraft sequel movie that is being titled A Minecraft Movie Squared, that is set to release in theaters on July 23rd, 2027. So we're a little over a year away from that, but they have finally released the official title of Minecraft Movie Squared. Comes out next year. I've been also posting about upcoming episodes of the show as well, and some posters that have been releasing of other movies too. So go ahead and follow us on social media. Just look for Cinematic Reviews. You can find us on there. Also, check out the official website of the podcast, cinematic-reviews.com. You can set up a profile on there, show off your favorite movies, favorite actors, favorite universes. You can also rank movies. You can use the popcorn rating that I use on the show, that you guys see as well. So go ahead and check that out. Some trivia games to test your movie and TV show knowledge. Bunch of stuff to do on there. So go ahead and set up a profile and go have fun on the official website of Cinematic Reviews. I think that's it. So there's no news and reactions today. So we're just going to dive right into today's featured film, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
You are a product of all who came before you. The legacy of your family. You are your mother. And whether you like it or not, you are also your father.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Glad I was right.
You're just a criminal who murders people.
Be careful how you speak to me, boy.
I thought I could change my name, start a new life. But I could never escape his shadow.
My son, you can't run from your past.
Is this what you wanted?
So, Shang-Chi came out back on September 3rd, 2021. Like I said, this is one of the Marvel movies that I did not get to see in theaters, partially because of COVID and theaters shutting down and all that, but also because this was the time when I was just kind of burnt out on the MCU, honestly. We've gotten, a bunch of shows, bunch of movies that just really wasn't grasping my attention and entertaining me enough to stick with the MCU. Phase 4 and partially part of Phase 5 was a really big, rough period for me as a moviegoer when it comes to Marvel. Phase 4 in particular, with all the shows that they were just pumping out. I mean, they had like 4 or 5 shows every year. They had 3 or 4 movies on top of that. They were just shotgunning projects left and right to all of us and just burnt out in the MCU. So this is one of the few movies that I had not seen in theaters as part of the MCU. Leading up to this, though, I saw every Marvel movie in theaters opening weekend for the most part, but come 2021, 2022, and 2020, they just was burnt out during that, 2 to 3 year gap. And this one, I wish I would have seen in theaters. It's such an incredible origin story. Simu Liu does a fantastic job as Shang-Chi, and I'm excited for him to get more out of the Shang-Chi character as we go along through the MCU. I am very shocked that haven't gotten another Shang-Chi solo film, and then also tying him into other ones. We haven't seen him since 2021. So that's 5 years that we haven't seen Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, which is really unfortunate because he is one of the best characters to come out of this new generation of Avengers post Infinity War and Endgame. So fingers crossed we finally get a Shang-Chi sequel, and he has been confirmed to show up in Doomsday, so we will get to see him this year. But it's just a real shame that we haven't gotten Shang-Chi 2 yet. Looking at the box office, not great. It was grossed about $432 million worldwide. Again, this was during the pandemic with all the theater shutdowns and everyone just kind of closed in because of the pandemic. Had a budget of about $200 million, so it doubled its money, but still not great in Marvel movie standards with $432 million at the box office. So we'll kind of go through synopsis like we always do, and we'll kind of run through the cast briefly, and then we'll get on to all the notes and categories. So Shang-Chi, if you're not too familiar with him, or if you haven't seen the movie in a while, he is a master of weaponry-based kung fu and is forced to confront his past after being drawn into the Ten Rings organization, which is led by his father, Wen Wu. He is the main antagonist of the story. He is on this mission to rescue, I'll say that in quotes, rescue their mother from death on this other dimensional. He has been brainwashed by this other universal dimensional creature, convincing him that his wife is just trapped on the other side of this land called Ta Lo. But she is in fact kaput, but he has been brainwashed. So this brings Shang-Chi and his best friend Katie, played by Awkwafina, into the world of the Ten Rings. They go to Shang-Chi's sister for help because they need to stop their father from basically destroying the world. And he has been brainwashed, like I said. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of the film. Cast. Simu Liu, like I said, plays Shang-Chi. This is his first leading role of his career. He would eventually go on to be quite a name for himself in Hollywood, showing up in Barbie as one of the Kens. But this is probably what he's going to be best known for, is Shang-Chi in the MCU. But he's great. I hope we get more of him. He is a fantastic actor and seems like a really awesome person. Katie, played by Awkwafina, like I said, she was the first actor cast in this movie, actually. Awkwafina, known for her, comedic roles, but she has been brought into the MCU as Shang-Chi's best friend, Katie. She's adorable. I really get a kick out of her in a lot of her movies. She's really funny. Like I said, very adorable, and just kind of the comedic beat throughout this entire movie. I love her reactions to Shang-Chi during that awesome bus fight that we'll talk about for sure in iconic scenes later. But she's such a blast on screen, and she was a great choice to pair up with Simu Liu. They had a really good chemistry together. Best friends, they've kind of, her parents and especially her grandmother, really want them to start dating. Maybe that's something that they do in the MCU later on. Maybe they pair the two together. They don't necessarily need to. They have a really good best friend concept going right now. You don't need to force, the male lead and the female lead to date. You know, they can just be friends. But we'll see what happens in the future. They definitely have a strong bond, so I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel decides to have them date. I think it would be great. Like I said, the chemistry between the two are really, really awesome. So we'll see what the future holds for Katie and Shang-Chi. We get a returning character, Trevor Slattery, played again by Ben Kingsley. We talked about him last when he on Wonder Man. So we're a little out of order here. Wonder Man came out this past January, but in the timeline, it's way further down the line after this movie. And then before that, we saw him in Iron Man 3 as the actor who donned the persona of the Mandarin, who is actually Wenwu, Shang-Chi, his father. But Trevor Slattery, again, really fun. Kingsley is a blast to have on screen. I really liked him in Wonder Man. I didn't really care for his character in Iron Man 3. I talked about that a lot on the review episode for that one. But Ben Kingsley as an actor, he's great. I grew up with him being in a lot of movies, and then now kind of continuing this Trevor character throughout the universe. He's one of the many characters that they've chosen to be like the Phil Coulson post Endgame, just kind of tying all these projects together, kind of just like Coulson did in phases 1, 2. Well, mainly 1, because he was killed off in Avengers, but then he did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which really tied that show together with the MCU. But so they've kind of picked and choose a few different characters to fulfill that universe binding character that Coulson was in phase 1. But he's great. Love seeing him again. He's starting to grow on me now. But back when Iron Man 3 came out, I really did not like the choice to make him that. I think it was mainly the fact that he was an awesome villain as the Mandarin, and then it just turned into this joke at the end. But the Trevor Slattery, like as a character, is great on screen. And then now they tied it into Shang-Chi finally with his dad, Wenwu, being the real Mandarin in this universe. And then we have Shang-Chi's sister. I'm going to really butcher this. Zhaling? I really suck at names, so I probably butchered that. So I will just refer to her as Shang-Chi's sister. I don't want to butcher her name anymore. Then we have their aunt, Ying Nan, played by Michelle Yeoh, who is fantastic. She is the auntie to Shang-Chi and his sister. She is the sister to their mother. So on her mother's side, she lives in Ta Lo. She's kind of the leader of that village. And she kind of takes him under the wing. She teaches Shang-Chi how to defeat his father with the same moves that she did on his father when they first met. That was a really cool kind of mirroring of the two the opening scene of the movie, where we have their mom Lee performing these different defensive moves against their father when they first met. That's where he fell in love with her. And then Auntie Nan, teaches Shang-Chi how to do the same exact moves, and we get that mirrored scene at the very end between him and his dad. It was really cool. And then, like I said, Lee is their mother. In a few scenes, but she is still kind of like the MacGuffin of the movie, so to speak. A couple notes here, and then we'll get into all the categories. So, like I said, this is, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, one of the best MCU entrances since Iron Man. One of the best origin stories for sure since Iron Man. We've had a lot of different ones, introducing Iron Man, introducing Thor, Captain America. But this one is just something really special about Shang-Chi and the way they did it. It's definitely one of the best origins, I think, in all of comic book history next to Iron Man. They did a really, really good job with this. Simu Liu did a fantastic job at, portraying Sean is his alternate ego. Turns out that he is actually Shang-Chi, who was trained by his father to be this badass assassin, and he has learned so many different martial arts and just an unstoppable weapon. He has that great line against his dad, you made me into a weapon, this is what I have become. And he uses those skills to be an Avenger instead of a villain, which is great. But yeah, this is one of the best origin stories in the MCU. It's definitely one of the best entrances since Iron Man. You have Spider-Man, which is great. I'm a little biased there. But we also have had other entrances in this one, like Anthony Mackie's Falcon, and we've had She-Hulk, America Chavez, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. So we've had a lot of different characters pop up. But so Iron Man came out in 2008, and then this came out in 2021. So almost, what would that be, like 15 years, maybe a little less, since Iron Man at this point. And this is this stacks up against Iron Man, if you ask me. But yeah, this is one of the best origin stories in the MCU and in comic book history, period. Speaking of comics, we'll do a movie versus comic. We haven't done this in a while, so I thought this would be pretty fun. Since this is actually a character I'm not too familiar with either. I don't think I've ever read a Shang-Chi comic. When this movie came out, I knew of the character, but it's just a character I never really was attached to or dived into for the comics. So I challenged myself to kind of do some research, and I thought it'd be fun to do a movie versus comic since we haven't done that in a while. So in the comics, Shang-Chi's father isn't the Mandarin. But in the movie, the MCU, he is. Also, Shang-Chi actually had a superpower in the comics called Chi, hence why he's called Shang-Chi. And then he could gather Chi from others around him. But in the MCU, they went with the power from the 10 rings that you see on his dad's forearm, and then eventually is given to him. So that's kind of where his power comes from. But in the comics, it's actually a superpower, him summoning Chi from within him. But here, similar to Miss Marvel as well, they actually have objects of where they get their superpower from, instead of being like Spider-Man or Hulk and things like that, where their biological genetics have altered. They went with an object-based superpower here for Shang-Chi. His sister's estrangement from himself was different in the comics. So in the comic, their father actually branded her and then sent her away. But in the movie, as you see, Shang-Chi left her, and then she resented him for it all these years until they meet up again at her fighting club. But so in the comics, their father actually branded her and sent her away instead of Shang-Chi leaving her after the death of their mother. Then Shang-Chi's father's organization, so in the comic, it is called Five Weapons Society, but in the MCU, this is where the 10 Rings comes in. In the comics, the 10 Rings is something totally different. His father isn't associated with them because he's not the Mandarin, so they've kind of combined different storylines and different organizations within the MCU, but in the comic, his specific organization is the Five Weapons Society. And then also in the comics, Shang-Chi actually has half-brothers and a sister. So in the MCU, he just has a sister. Maybe that's something they introduce later on in the MCU. Maybe they, has a half-brother pop up here or there. But in the comics, a big part of his story is that he has half-brothers and not just a sister. So I thought it was pretty interesting to learn more about the Shang-Chi character, because he's one of my favorites in the MCU now. I love Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. Did a great job, and I'm very excited to see what they do with him in Doomsday, and then hopefully getting a sequel to this movie finally. Okay, let's get to all the categories today. So first up, the iconic scenes. This was really tough because there's a lot of great scenes in this movie, but I did drop it down to 5 like I normally do. So the first one is the bus fight. I'll say this right now. This is my most iconic scene. Whenever I hear the title Shang-Chi, I think of this bus fight towards the beginning of the movie, where Katie realizes that there's something different about Sean. He knows all this kung fu, and there's definitely a secret that he's keeping from her. But this bus fight is awesome. He's fighting a few of his father's associates. One with the I think it was Razor Fist, if I remember his name, with the sword for a hand. So they're, he's jumping around the bus. He's dodging all their punches, trying to protect the people on the bus as well. The driver ends up getting knocked out, so Katie has to go in there and drive the bus while Sean is fighting all these dudes. Eventually, the bus splits in half, which was a really cool effect. But just the hand-to-hand combat in this movie, particularly this bus fight, is really awesome. And when this scene came on, I'm like, okay, this is going to be different than a lot of the movies that we've had so far in the MCU. And it is really, really well done. The choreography in here is incredible. And Simu, I'll talk about it more in fun facts, but he did a lot of training for this movie with the hand-to-hand combat stuff. And it really shows because it was awesome. I really, really like it. Another scene that comes to my mind when I think of Shang-Chi is Wong versus Abomination at Sean's sister's Fight Club. So again, we're getting some more universe building and connecting scenes here with Wong from the Doctor Strange universe, and then Abomination, of course, from the Incredible Hulk. So that was really cool to see Abomination again. We'll see him once more in the She-Hulk series. Both of them, Wong and Abomination, actually. So they kind of have a relationship going between the two guys. But that was really cool to see some universe building here. We also, in that scene, or the scenes leading up to it, we see a widow fighting in the club. We also see somebody with the Extremis virus in him from Iron Man 3 fighting the widow. So even more universe building in here, which is cool. I would really like to get a movie just on, or even like a 6-part series on Sean's sister's Fight Club, where we get to see all these different people that we've been introduced in the past, like the widows, the Dormelage, the Extremis, things like that. That would be really cool to get a Fight Club series on Disney Plus. Would be awesome. Another scene is the fight on the bamboo scaffolding outside of Sean's sister's Fight Club. Really great. It's terrifying. I'm not the biggest fan of heights, but the way they filmed this looks absolutely terrifying, where you got Sean trying to save Katie from falling, but also trying to fight all these dudes. Again, the hand-to-hand combat stuff is really awesome. And the fact that he's got to kind of bounce around these bamboo scaffoldings and fight these guys was really, really awesome. We got Sean, Katie, and Trevor meeting the people of Ta Lo. Really awesome. This really nice village where they have developed these weapons from the protector dragon that is in there. And they get to introduce to, their mom's side of the family and their traditions and things like that. They get the story of how this monster from another dimension is banging at the door, trying to get in, and this is what has brainwashed their father into thinking that their mom is alive, but it's them using their dad to break out and steal the souls from everybody. So that was another scene. And then lastly, we've got Sean versus his dad in front of that entrance of the other dimensional world. Really awesome. He steals 5 of the rings, so now we got a 5-ring on 5-ring fight, and it's really awesome. Unfortunately, his dad ends up dying right when he realizes what he has done, and he tries to prevent what he started. But he eventually gets to a point where he knows where he's going to die, so he gives Sean the 10 rings, and now he is the bearer of the superpower, and he uses it to become an Avenger. So really touching moment between dad and son here, where his dad realizes that he gone fucked up, he got brainwashed, and he's kind of felt some guilt there. And Sean, hating his dad all these years, and then he realizes that at the end of the day, it's his dad, and he is given the 10 rings to become an Avenger and help the world instead of trying to conquer it, which is really cool. So like I said, the iconic scene for me is the bus fight. So write in the comments below, what is your iconic scene when you hear the title Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? So we got some more nominations for the Let's Fucking Go moments. There's a few in here, but I have limited down to 3 like I normally do. So the first one, Sean is forced to fight on the bus. When he first realized, he throws that first punch, it's like, oh, Sean can fight. Let's fucking go. Let's see him knock some dudes up. Then we have Sean getting the 5 of the 10 rings versus his dad in that fight that I talked about at the entrance of the other dimension. When he gets the 5 and they're kind of swirling around him, it's like, oh, okay, let's fucking go. We're going to see him use the rings against his dad. And then at the very end, Wong recruits Sean and Katie to join the Avengers. And then at that point, it's like, yeah, let's go. Shang-Chi is going to be an Avenger, and he's bringing Katie along with. So I think the biggest let's fucking go moment for me was when he got the 5 of the 10 rings against his dad. That's where you get to really see his true potential and his power come forth and be able to fight his dad. Got some favorite quotes here to read off, and then we'll get into all the fun facts. So this one from Shang-Chi: "You can't just march into our mom's village with this bullshit. Ta Lo villager, if you aim at nothing, you hit at nothing." This was towards Aquafina, really good life lesson. You know, if you don't take shots, what was that iconic line? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Basically, this is what that's saying. It's the tall, low version of it. Bruce Banner, welcome to the circus, when he's meeting Shang-Chi and Katie at the end of the movie. This one from Trevor Slattery. That's a weird horse. When they drive through the woods to get to Ta Lo, and that little horse weird thing is just kind of parked in the front of the car and it's just staring at him. Shang-Chi's sister here. If my dad won't let me into his empire, I'm going to build my own. That's where her fight club comes in. Eventually, in that post-credit scene, she takes over the 10 rings. So very curious to see what they do with her character if they bring her back. And then this one from Auntie Nan. The 10 rings are stronger than anything in your universe. Kind of give us an idea of how strong these 10 rings are. And that's kind of how the ending of the movie, too, is. In that other post-credit scene where Wong is explaining to Shang-Chi that, you know, when you use the 10 rings, this beacon came out. And these things are like the oldest things in the universe. It's older than, you know, a lot of the other artifacts in the universe right now. So they're trying to do, it's kind of opening up this door of like, where the hell did these rings come from and what are they made of? So that was a really good moment there. Got some fun facts for y'all today, and then we'll get into all the rankings. Destin Daniel Cretton, who is the director of the film, he's also directing the new Spider-Man movie, said that they went through a lot of contenders for the lead role, but found the perfect package in Simu Liu. He has the athletic abilities, but he also is a terrific actor. He showed fantastic chemistry with Awkwafina, is fluent in English and Mandarin, and is comfortable shifting between Western and Eastern cultures. So that is why they landed with Simu Liu, and they made a terrific decision on him as Shang-Chi. In the late 1980s, Stan Lee actually considered a film/TV series about Shang-Chi and had in mind Brandon Lee, son of martial arts superstar Bruce Lee, for the role. Shang-Chi was visually based on Bruce Lee, so Brandon seemed a fitting choice, but the plan fell through, and then we didn't get a Shang-Chi movie until 2021. Simu Liu, when cast as Shang-Chi, was knowledgeable in Taekwondo, gymnastics, and Wing Chun. For his role as the master of Kung Fu, Liu trained in Tai Chi, Wushu, Muay Thai, Penkat Silat, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, and street fighting. Also, Liu put on 10 pounds of muscle to play Shang-Chi. So like I said, he really did his research. He trained really hard to get all the moves and everything going. It's good that he had some prior knowledge with Taekwondo and gymnastics to help him out, but he did all those different martial arts styles as well as packing on some muscle, which was good. For her role as Katie, Awkwafina trained in car drifting and archery. As you see, she drove that bus, and then she became an archer at the end of the movie, shooting up those bat-looking monsters that suck your soul out of you. When Shang-Chi is asked to fight in the arena shirtless, it is a nod to his debut comic, where he would appear shirtless throughout his early comic book run. This was in itself an homage to Bruce Lee movies, where Lee often fought shirtless. If you've seen him, you know, mostly iconic is Enter the Dragon, where I think like 80% of that movie he's got his shirt off. But I do remember, you know, comic book snippings and artworks of Shang-Chi, and most of the time it had his shirt off, so that seemed to be a pretty iconic outfit for him. And then eventually he got that red and black suit that he wears, similar to what he wears in the movie. Film is dedicated to Bradley James Allen, who was the stunt coordinator for this movie. Allen was known for his work behind the stunts of Jackie Chan. Then he unfortunately died on August 7th, 2021 at the age of 48, just a few weeks before the movie came out. The red and black suit that Shang-Chi acquired at Ta Lo is an homage to the suit that he wore in the Jonathan Hickman Avengers comics. So that was a pretty cool outfit. I really like his outfit that he wears. I'm sure when we see him in Avengers, he's going to have a different style, but I hope they keep the red and black scheme for him. Look really awesome. And then lastly, the bus fight is loosely inspired by both Jackie Chan and Buster Keaton. So Shang-Chi is a movie that I really, really love. I need to watch it more. I've only seen it a handful of times. I wish I would have seen it in theaters, but it's a really great origin story. Simu Liu does a fantastic job as Shang-Chi. He really did his homework. He really trained very hard with the hand-to-hand combat stuff. The fight choreography, courtesy to Bradley James Allen. May he rest in peace. Did a fantastic job with the stunts in here. I think it's one of the best choreographed movie in the MCU for sure. So definitely check out Shang-Chi if you haven't seen it in a while. It's available on Disney+. I own it, of course, because I own all of the Marvel movies. But yeah, go ahead and check out Shang-Chi today. Hopefully we get a sequel. I'm very excited to dive into more of Simu Liu's version of Shang-Chi in the MCU. So let's wrap things up like we always do with the rankings, with the MCU ranking, the villain scale, and the popcorn rating. But we'll take a quick break before we dive into all those. All right, so we'll go through the MCU ranking, the villain scale, which would be Wenwu, Shang-Chi's father, and then we'll wrap it up with the popcorn rating for Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. So let me pull up the MCU ranking here on the Cinematic Reviews website. Again, you can set up a profile and you can make your own ranking lists. You can also check out all of mine. I made all of mine public, so you can go in there and check out all of my rankings. Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings comes in at number 18 in the MCU ranking list. Looking what's around it, we got Thunderbolts at 19, Black Panther at 20. Right above it is Iron Man at 17. The Punisher One Last Kill, which we talked about last week, at 16. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at 15. So Shang-Chi in the top 20, with it having about 50 plus projects, 18 is pretty good. At first glance, you're like, oh, it's the 18th best Marvel movie. Well, it's out of 50, guys, so it's in the top 20. I thought about moving it up a little bit more, but I couldn't put it above Iron Man. I definitely couldn't put it above Hawkeye or Fantastic Four or Thor Ragnarok. So I think I landed on 18. It's a really fun action movie. It's a really great origin. The villain, we'll talk about Wenwu here in a second. Just could have been better. I think that's what really holds this one back from being one of the greats. Is the villain. It's nothing to rave about. It's nothing that we haven't seen already. Iron Man is similar with Obadiah Stane. Not really anything to rave about. It's kind of grouped into a lot of those first Marvel movies where the hero is basically fighting an evil version of itself. Iron Man fights Ironmonger, which is Obadiah Stane. Black Panther, he fights Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, which is just the evil version of Black Panther. Shang-Chi fights his dad, which is the evil version of himself. Ant-Man fights the Wasp, basically the evil version of himself. So it kind of gets lumped in to just the hero fighting itself. But everything else in the movie makes it really great. That's why it's up in the top 20 because of the action. The Simu Liu version of Shang-Chi, his performance is great. His chemistry with Awkwafina's Katie is fantastic. And just it's a villain problem, really, is what really holds it back. And speaking of villains, we have Sean's dad, Wenwu. Again, villain scale, we'll talk about the performance, the costume design, and then motivation as the villain. I'm giving him 3 Thanos heads because, the performance is pretty good. I like the actor that plays him. Let me see if I can pull up his name here. Again, I'm probably going to butcher it. Tony Long? Chiu-Wai? I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. It looks like he's been doing a bunch of Chinese films. Yeah, Shang-Chi is the only thing that I know of him. Like I said, the performance is serviceable. It's nothing to rave about. The costuming is pretty cool. I do like his outfit with the blue glowing rings. It's really cool that he has the blue, and then when Sean gets the rings, it turns into like this orangish red. So really showing you that he is different from his father. I thought that was really cool. But the look of him is really cool. I like the costume design. Now the motivation. This is where it kind of bumps it up a little bit to get him to 3 Thanos heads. I thought about giving him 2, but the motivation and the costume design is what got me up to 3. He's brainwashed. So he is not a total piece of shit, but he's just hurting from the loss of his wife, and he's lost. He kind of separated himself from his children because he was just on his war path. to try to get his wife back. But, you know, he's still somewhat a piece of shit because he kind of left his kids hanging there. You know, Sean had to basically leave his family to get away from all that and abandon his sister because of how his dad treated him. But I did land on 3 Thanos heads because of the motivation behind the villain and the costume. The performance, not great. I think that just gets associated with the writing of the movie. But kind of in the middle of the pack here with the 3 Thanos heads for Win-Woo. Then the popcorn rating. I'm giving this 5 popcorns. I couldn't quite get to golden popcorn, but this is pretty dang close to it, so I'm giving it 5 popcorns. The choreography is what really does it for me. The hand-to-hand combat stuff is awesome. That fight between Sean and his dad at the end where they're fighting with the 10 rings was really awesome. Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Awkwafina as Katie, really awesome chemistry between each other. Just all the cast for the most part is really good in here. So I'm giving it 5 popcorns on the popcorn rating. So that's going to do it for this week's Marvel episode. Let's see what we've got next time on the list. We're really getting through the MCU here. So next week we've got the Eternals movie. Oh boy, I haven't seen this one since it came out, and this will be a rewatch because this is one of the first episodes of the show actually back in 2022. So this will be fun. I haven't seen it since. So we're looking at 4 years since I've seen this movie. I am ready to bash this into the ground. This is I'm going to spoil a little bit. This is the worst ranked Marvel movie ever. This is number 51 on the list. So we are getting to the worst of the worst. I am very curious to see if this moves up at all on the ranking list after a rewatch. But yeah, so that'll be Eternals will be the next one. The week after that will be Hawkeye. And then we finally get to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'm super excited about. Looking at some other episodes coming out. So I'm going to announce this on the show today, actually, now. We are going to do the first ever triple feature on the show. So we've done a few double features. We have never done a triple feature review episode. So this will be titled Scary Story of the Universe. This episode will drop on June 20th. I'll be reviewing Scary Movie 6, Toy Story 5, and Masters of the Universe. Toy Story 5 and Masters of the Universe comes out on June 5th, so 1 week away. And then Toy Story 5 comes out on June 19th, so we got about a week gap in between the 2 weekends. But June 20th, I will release the Scary Story of the Universe review episode. This is the first ever triple feature on Cinematic Reviews. There's so many new releases this summer that I was looking at the calendar. I'm like, gonna have to consolidate some of these. You know, do I do a couple of double features? Do I do a big, new release episode where we just talk about all of them? But I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a triple feature and get creative with the title? So I was looking at all the new releases, thinking of different combinations for all the title of the episode. And then I came down to this one. Scary Movie, Toy Story 5, Masters of the Universe. These 3 movies come out within like a 2-week span. And I was toying with it. What do we name this? And then I landed on Scary Story of the Universe. We're going to universe hop. We're going to jump from the Scary Movie universe to the Toy Story universe to the Masters of the Universe. It's going to be fun. Super excited for this. So the Scary Story of the Universe episode, triple feature, will be on June 20th. You can watch it on YouTube, or you can listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast service. So that'll be a giant triple feature episode coming on the show June 20th. So mark your calendars. So that's going to do it for today. I hope you all have the great rest of your weekend. The next episode will be the Mandalorian Grogu review episode. That'll come out within the next couple of days. And then we'll return to the Marvel Universe with Eternals next week. So some awesome events coming up. Some really cool, fun review episodes coming. Check out the rest of the Cinematic Reviews episodes. Check out the End Zone Report. That's the football podcast that I do. And then also check out the Quantum Flash Gaming channel over on Twitch and YouTube as well. So have a great rest of your weekend, guys. We will see you all next time on the show.